Morning, everybody. Happy Friday to you all. It's a beautiful Friday morning here in San Marcos, California. I want to talk about some sports today, and we've got a lot going on. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. We've got the semifinals in the Winter Olympic Games for men's hockey. So Canada is taking on Finland in just about 7 minutes time. That's going to start here at 7:40 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then you got Slovakia against USA at 12:10 p.m. So the semifinals in the Olympic Winter Games, very interesting. I think Canada and USA are both going to win, the two favorites. I think it's pretty much a sure thing that the USA beats Slovakia. Finland and Canada is a little bit more of a question, but I just think Canada has a better team. And I think the expectations are just through the roof for Canada. It would be really bad if they lost to Finland and they didn't even get to the gold medal game. You know, everybody wants to see USA versus Canada. Everybody wants to see that rematch that we saw last year at the Four Nations Face-Off. You know, this rivalry is real. There's heat there, and people want to see it. So I would love to see it too. It would make for great TV. I think, and just set aside what everybody wants to see, I think it's the most likely situation. I see Canada beating Finland. Finland has a very good roster, very good, but they lost their first game of this tournament. Let me pull it up here. They lost the first game of this tournament to wow, so sorry about this. It's annoying that I can't just pull this up. Okay, so they lost to Slovakia in their first game about 9 days ago, 4-1. It was a dominant victory for Slovakia. They also barely beat Switzerland. They were down 2-0 against Switzerland late in the third period, scored 2 late goals to force overtime, and they would win in overtime. So this Finland team, they've been on the brink of elimination already once against Switzerland. If that happens again against Canada, they're not going to escape. Canada will just simply slam the door shut. So I expect Canada to win this game. I know Finland's a really good team, but I think Canada's just a little bit better. So I'm picking Canada. Picking Canada to win this game. Score prediction, I think it's going to be, I'm going to say 3-1. Maybe 4-2. But I think Canada wins comfortably. Moving on to USA and Slovakia, I think USA is going to beat these guys pretty easily. That would be my expectation. Now, Slovakia has been a really good story so far. Nobody expected them to make it this far. So for them to be in the semifinal, it's a great story, and I think people need to give them credit and give them their props, tip their cap to them, because they've done a great job. But, you know, we have to be honest about what they are as a team. You know, they beat Finland, impressive win. They beat Italy, barely. They lost to Sweden, who we just beat. And they beat Germany. I mean, not much to go off here, but when you look at the roster, we just have a better roster. It's simple. We have a better roster, we're a better team, and we should win this game. We should come out and ready to go, and we should win the game. So I'm picking USA to beat Slovakia. Just win. That's it. Just win. So that's how I see the hockey semifinals in the Olympic Games going. I think Canada and USA are both going to win. I think that we're going to see Canada against USA in the gold medal game on Sunday. It's going to be a real treat to tune into. Okay, moving on. I want to talk about some soccer in the second division in English football, the English Championship. Blackburn Rovers hosting Preston North End. And so coming into this one, Blackburn Rovers are nearing the relegation zone. They actually might get relegated, which is not good. Very bad. They are right now just 3 points above the drop zone. So it's very much a realistic possibility that Blackburn could get relegated. So they're playing for everything. They're playing for pretty much everything today. Big game for Blackburn. And then on the other side, Preston North End, they're fighting to get into the potential playoff spots. They're tied right now for the 6th and final playoff spot. So they still have a potential to get promoted. They could win the playoffs and get promoted to the Premier League. So both teams are playing for a lot here in this game. This is a huge game as we approach the latter stages of the EFL Championship season. So both teams are going to be motivated to get this win. Both teams are going to be playing really hard. I think for Blackburn, they don't necessarily need to win it. They just need to avoid losing. And then for Preston would like to win this game. But again, it's Blackburn hosting Preston, so we know how these games work. Typically, the home team has got a big advantage. So let's go ahead and look at the trends for both of these teams. Blackburn in 10 home games since November 8th have only won twice. And Preston in 10 road games since November 1st have only lost twice. So what does that trend tell you? It's pretty obvious. It's pretty simple. And also, we have to keep in mind that Preston is the far better team by the standings this year. Preston has a chance to get into the playoff and get promoted, whereas Blackburn is nearing the relegation zone and could get dropped to EFL League One. So, tell me what I'm missing here and why Blackburn is favored to win this game. What am I missing? Because they have only won 2 out of their last 10 games at home. The odds makers are saying that Blackburn should win this game. The odds makers have Blackburn at plus 100, which is a pretty sizable favorite in soccer. They got Preston North End money line at plus 270. They got Preston North End double chance, which means Preston North End win or draw at minus 120. So I'm getting close to even odds on a Preston North End win or draw when they've only lost 2 times on the road in their last 10 games. Meanwhile, Blackburn is one of the worst teams in the league, and they've only won 2 times in their last 10 home games. This is a slam dunk. I'm all over it. Preston North End, double chance. Preston North End plus a half a goal. They're both the same thing. It means Preston North End win or draw in this matchup. This is one of my favorite plays, slam dunk plays you can have. I mean, I don't see how this is. I don't understand this line. And maybe we'll look back on this later today, and I could be wrong. And it happens. It happens all the time. But I just don't see what I'm missing here. That Blackburn Rovers should be sizable favorites and expected to win a game when they've only won 2 out of their last 10 home games. I know they're playing better recently, but their form is abysmal overall. I know they've won 2 out of their last 3 overall. That's great. But that's the only 2 out of their last 10 they've won. They've lost or drawn all the other ones. So I don't expect them to win today. So that's that. Okay, and then let's move to some college basketball. We got some good college hoops on tonight. I'm going to have my eye on Virginia Commonwealth University, VCU, the Rams, visiting the St. Louis Billikens. Big time matchup. St. Louis is 24-2, and they are coming off of a loss. They just lost their last game. Who was it against? I'm going to pull it up right now, so it's fine, but oh no. What is this? Okay. All right, that's great. Yeah, we'll pull it up on a different website. Sorry for the delay, everyone. Okay. So the St. Louis Billikens are 24-2. They're taking on the VCU Rams, who are 21-6. If you take a look at the standings in the Atlantic 10, St. Louis is 12-1. VCU is 12-2. So only a half game separates these two teams at the top of the standings. And in this game, St. Louis is favored by 8 points. These are the two best teams in the conference. And you're going to tell me that St. Louis is just head and shoulders better than everybody by that much, that they're going to be favored by 8 points at home against the second best team in the conference, VCU. Something's not adding up for me there. On top of that, these two teams played earlier this year. St. Louis won by 9. They won 71-62. It was a very close game throughout the entire game. St. Louis pulled away at the end. But my point on that game is that VCU was favored in that game. That game was just a little bit over a month ago. So you're telling me in just about a month time and a half or so, a month and some change, St. Louis has now, the market has completely flopped. VCU was favored last time they faced St. Louis. Now, St. Louis is favored by 8 points. That's wrong. That's way off. That doesn't make any sense. I know St. Louis is good. I know they're coming off a loss. And by the way, they're coming off a loss. That doesn't mean that, like, some people say, oh, they're coming off a loss. That means they're going to come out ready to go. They're going to play well. To me, that's not how it works. It means they're playing poorly. That's what that means. They just lost a game to Rhode Island, who's not a very good team. And to me, that's a bad sign. I'm not going to use that as a positive, say, oh, they're coming off a loss, now they're going to play harder. No. I mean, it does make sense. I understand that logic. But St. Louis isn't that type of team. They're a good team. I don't want to disrespect them. They're a good team. But they aren't, you know, a UConn, a Kansas, you know, an Arizona. They're not one of them. Not even close. And VCU is a good team. They're quality. So VCU has only lost 2 games the entire year by 8 or more points. Every time they've lost, for the most part, it's been a close game. They've only lost 6 games all year. VCU's won 10 games in a row. They're on a 10-game winning streak. So they're playing pretty good basketball right now. And you're going to give me 8 points for VCU in a conference matchup? We know how tight these conference matchups are in college basketball. These teams play each other twice a year. They are very familiar with each other. I'm all over VCU plus 7.5. I got it at 7.5. So I don't get the plus 8, but I got plus 7.5. I feel good about it now. If you look at just the stats, you know, the stats do point towards St. Louis, but we don't do things, we don't, you know, make predictions or pick games based off only on stats. We got to look at the entire picture. And the big picture tells me that VCU as underdogs is the play today. So that's what I'll be doing there. And then last but not least, we got 2 more games I want to talk about. First, it's Indiana at Purdue in the Big Ten. And this one I think is pretty straightforward. There's really not, you know, much to talk about here. Purdue's 21-5, number 7 in the nation. Indiana is 17-9. Purdue just lost to Michigan. I made a video on that the other day. If you watched that video, I picked Michigan to win that game, so I got that one right. Purdue coming off a loss. Indiana is... let's take a look at what Indiana just did. So Indiana, these guys are coming off a loss at Illinois by 20. So they just got blown out by Illinois on the road. They lost to USC on the road. They've lost their last 2 road games. Now, before that, they did beat UCLA at Pauley Pavilion. So a really good win on the road over UCLA. They beat Rutgers on the road. So Indiana has been solid on the road, but when you look at them against the good competition on the road, it's not been good. They lost by 21 at Michigan State. They lost by 14 at Michigan. They lost by only 6 against Nebraska. Excuse me. They lost by 9 against Louisville, who was ranked very highly at that time. However, one of their signature wins this year was when they played Purdue earlier this season. They beat Purdue by 5 at home at what's the name of Indiana's arena? It's not coming to me right now. Famous arena though. Let's take a look. It's not really important, but now that all right, whatever. We're gonna move on. Yeah, I can't remember what it's called. Anyways, point is, okay, they've struggled with the higher end competition that they've faced this year. Against ranked opponents, they've lost every game except for one, and that one game was a win against Purdue at home. So I think Purdue coming off of a loss, okay? So I just went on that diatribe about how I don't think about teams coming off of losses as, a positive thing. Well, I think that for this specific instance, they're at home, and so is St. Louis. So maybe I'm cherry picking a little bit here. I don't know, but I personally think that Purdue is going to win this game. They're coming off of kind of a disappointing loss at home to Michigan. There was high expectations for that game. It didn't go their way. And I just think Purdue's a much better team. I don't see them losing 2 times in a row, especially at home. And so I expect Purdue to go out there and take care of business against a not as good Indiana side. But we're going to see what happens. That's why college basketball is so great. Again, these games are really close. And by the way, I'm not picking, go back to St. Louis for just a moment. I'm not picking VCU to win the game. I'm just picking VCU to keep the game close. VCU keep within 7 points and we're good. That's it. I'm not saying VCU is going to beat St. Louis. I'm just saying it's going to be a close game. And this could be a close game too. Purdue and Indiana could be a close game. I never said it was not going to be a close game. However, I do think Purdue is going to win the game because Purdue is a better team and they're at home. It's really not rocket science. Okay, and then finally, last but not least, we got Miami University, Miami of Ohio, against Bowling Green. This is a fun one. Miami of Ohio is 26-0. Historic year for what is their mascot? Yeah, I don't know. But all I know is that they're having a great year. So they're the Red Hawks, the Miami Red Hawks. So, yeah, I think the Red Hawks, in this spot, they're facing Bowling Green. They beat Bowling Green earlier this year on the road by 10. And in that game, they completely dominated. They actually led in that game by 30. So they dominated Bowling Green earlier this year. They're 26-0. They're working to keep their record perfect. They're trying to finish the year undefeated. Not many teams can do it, but they're very close. They've had some close calls, but they've escaped every single time. And so I expect that trend to continue. I mean, they've won 26 straight games. They're at home tonight against an inferior Bowling Green team that they already beat this year by 10, and they were up by 30 against them. So, yeah, I think that Miami of Ohio is going to continue it tonight. I think they're going to go 27-0 tonight. They're going to beat Bowling Green. And so, yeah, that's it. That's all I want to talk about today. It's going to be a fun day of sports. Just to recap the video, I think that Canada is going to move on to the gold medal game. I think Canada is going to beat Finland. I think USA is going to beat Slovakia. And we're going to get a really good gold medal game on Sunday between Canada and USA. I also think Purdue is going to beat Indiana. I think Purdue is going to bounce back after that loss that they suffered against Michigan. And I think that Indiana just isn't on the same level as Purdue. I think Purdue can take care of business there tonight. And then to round out those heavy favorites, I think Miami of Ohio is going to defeat Bowling Green and move to 27-0. VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University, I think they're going to keep it close against St. Louis. We know how these games usually are. They're usually close. competitive games. I don't think St. Louis is head and shoulders above everybody else in the Atlantic 10. I think it's a lot closer than people think. These two teams played a month and a half ago, and VCU was favored. And now a month and a half later, now VCU is plus 8 points. It doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, give me VCU to keep this game within 7 points today. And then finally, EFL Championship. Blackburn Rovers hosting Preston North End. Blackburn have only won 2 out of their last 10 home games, and they've actually only won 2 out of their last 10 games overall. Preston North End have only lost 2 out of their last 10 road games. So Preston North End is the better team. They're way above Blackburn in the standings. Preston is fighting for a playoff spot, whereas Blackburn is fighting to not get relegated. Why is Preston North End an underdog today? Can anyone explain that to me? So yeah, Preston North End is the play. That's all I got for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Let me know what you guys think is going to happen in all the sports today. And let's enjoy them, guys. All right. Have a great Friday. See you later.